Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Unleashing Potentials podcast. Joining me today is special guest Alex. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you, Bernadette. I'm very good. Very excited to be here with you and your audience.
Yes. I'm so excited. I was telling you how much I love your background.
Thank you. I've done a lot of work on this background.
That is so cool. Alex, where about are you? Where in the world are you?
I am in London, United Kingdom.
Oh, that's so cool. I've never been there. It sounds really beautiful.
You've got to come. You've got to come. It's a very, I call it mystical place.
Ooh.
It doesn't maybe come to mind. You think busy city, capital of the world. There are lots of hidden places and lots of fairies running around.
That's so cool. Yeah. So, Alex, can you start by telling us who you are and what you do?
Sure. So who I am, I'm Alex Vitillo. I like to say I am Italian in London. I grew up in Africa, but this is a whole different story. So maybe we're going to leave that on the side for now. And what do I do is the $1 million question, because I could tell you who I was, which is I come from a corporate background. I studied economics. I come from a very traditional Catholic family. And I came to London to do a master in finance and banking, even though it wasn't really my thing. I wanted to be an artist. And my dad said, Alex, you want to be a poor artist? No, I don't think so. We had this idea that artists are going to be poor. We all heard it, right?
Mm.
And I said, I don't really want to be poor. Okay, Dad, what shall I do? And he said, well, I'll study economics. So that's what I did. And I came to London to do a master to be even better at economics. And I started my career in finance. And that was definitely not me. So if you ask me now who I am, I'm going to say I'm a spiritual rebel who decided that that was not my world. And I discovered that there was something called spirituality. I came out of the spiritual closet little by little.
Mhm.
I learned different energy techniques. I became a healer. I became a theta healer, a shaman, a frequency expert, you name it. I'm always starting something new. I'm always evolving and defining what I do. It's quite tricky.
Mm. That's so cool. I love that you have a blending of different backgrounds, specifically finance. What would you say finance has taught you on a spiritual level?
What has finance taught me? That's a beautiful question. I have to think for a sec, because when I decided that that was not my world and that was not the place where I felt I was shining, I went complete 180 degrees, healing, renegating some of my roots in a sense, because I did study that for a long time. I worked in finance for a long time until I decided that it wasn't all evil. And there were certain things in finance that actually, if you are a healer, if you are a spiritual person, if you are a little bit with the fairy or the unicorns or the dragons, whatever feels good to you, I like them all personally,
Mhm.
then having a little bit of financial background, i.e. feeling grounded, really understand how we still create relationship to this day and age, right? Because like I said, it's good to be with the fairies and the dragons and the unicorns, but you still have to pay your bills. You still have to send your kids to school or some kind of educations, i.e. we need money. And so finance gave me that grounding, that ground that said, okay, you can have both actually. You can have the grounding and the material to support your spirituality, to support your revolution, to help the world and do better.
Mhm.
And so, I came back to finance in a sense by really making good with, what you could do with financial abundance, because you could do a lot of goods.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, would you say law of attraction applies with the financial aspect of life?
Don't start me on the law of attraction. Uh, I think it's okay to give you a plug, but I was listening to one of your previous podcasts. Fantastic, fantastic. I think it was the lady from Germany,
Yeah.
and she started to talk about frequencies, right?
Mm.
And I'm very much in that field as well. So in short, the law of attraction is one of the law of the universe. But I think when you start to really look at mastering manifesting, that, you need so many other laws combining. And so frequencies is one of the magic tricks that's going to do it. And of course, healing as well is going to move the needle for people. So in short, can you also create abundance? Yes, absolutely. Do we only use the law of attraction? No, I think it's a simplification that doesn't serve many people, because then when it doesn't work, you start to feel I've done something bad, or I wasn't good enough, or I meditated at the wrong time. I had, thought that wasn't the right thought. And I call it manifesting becomes a job. I'm doing a whole thing at the moment about you don't want to manifest as a job. You want it to be flowing and effortlessly and easy. So I hope that answered the question. I don't want to offend anyone, but I'm saying that's just the surface.
So good. Yeah, yeah. There's no right or wrong answer. There's your answer.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. How would you say some people misunderstand frequencies? What is the term frequency to you?
So technically is a quantum physics definition, which starts to look at everything as energy. But what do we mean by everything is energy? Again, we're humans, we come as matter, and maybe it's easier to understand that things vibrate, everything vibrates, and it creates a little bit of movement, a little bit of electricity. And so frequency is an average of your electricity, your movement, and everything around you. And I'm very passionate of Marvel movies, time traveling movies, because each reality, and when I say time traveling, multiple universes, multiple realities, because each reality has a different frequency. So that allows us, again, to manifest one thing a lot quicker if you move from, let's say, the reality where everything is blue to the reality where everything is pink. You just need to find that vehicle that is going to take you from your blue reality to your pink reality.
Yeah, I agree. Alex, would you be open to talk about the loss of your husband? Or is that
yes?
Okay?
Yes. I'm willing, because that's what started this whole transformation for me, and a personal quest. So for those that are listening, I lost my husband, and at the time I was really much into, again, the corporate world, and in that ticking the boxes type of life. Everything was, you go to work, it's not ideal, you don't love it, but you think that's what I was brought up to do. My husband was in finance, he loved it though. And so, I was just ticking boxes, to kids by that time. And when he passed, I couldn't see myself, looking after the kids on my own by being employed in a sector where you really have to work hard and the hours are very, very long. And so, again, thanks to financial abundance, that's why I want to say, a lot of people may think money is evil, but in my case, money gave me that time to pause and to say, okay, I'm going to take some time off and I'm going to figure out how could I be present with my kids and be the sole provider. And literally, I've got no sisters, no brothers. My parents were in Africa at the time. So literally no one else to be with me. And that pause really allowed me to find my gifts, and the angels showed some path, and I started to train. Again, I invested a lot in training, because it's true, I discovered I had gift, I discovered I was in the spiritual closet. I still decided to train and to get a certification on everything that I do. And this is something that for me, it's very, very, very important. Whatever gift you have, just still confront yourself, get a certification, have a mentor that follows you, have a group of people that are going through that experience, and use your gifts. But at least you're certified and qualified, and you've been tested along the way. generally when you do a qualification.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Have you connected with him on the other side?
Absolutely.
Wow, what
Ooh,
was that like?
ooh. Did you hear there's a loud bang on my
Oh, what happened?
loud bang? Uh, I did connect. I feel he was home with us for a long time,
Yeah.
and the kids knew we talk about this. At some point I felt, and I did that through shamanism, to really let him go,
Mhm.
because you know what they say, if you could keep them here, but that doesn't do them a service, and ultimately doesn't do us a service, except we've been selfish, and it feels a little bit better to feel a presence in the house. And
Mhm.
so that was really, really, really hard. It brought a lot of tears,
Yeah.
and I was grateful that I could do it through the practice of shamanism, through the practice of,
Mhm.
you know, all the energy that I've studied. And it's still around, but not in the same way. You know, when they go, and
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
That's
something
awesome.
missing. Yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
cool. In your own term, what is a shaman?
Oh, in my own terms. So again, I have to say that this was so. Let's step back.
Yeah.
When I was in my world, my previous world, I never heard the word healer. Never. So you can imagine what a shock when people started to say to me, "You're a healer." I was like,
Yeah.
"What?" And then the same, I never heard, shame on me, the word shaman. And
Mhm.
you know, when they say when you're ready, things starts to show to you. And again, when your frequencies match the reality, things and people and words starts to come to you. So I heard the word shaman and I had no idea what it meant.
Mm.
And I just did a search and I found this course. The teacher was in Hawaii. So crazy hours at night to be studying shamanism with him.
Mhm.
And I did it for 3 years. And there are many definitions of shamanism. Mine is very simple, and it's the ability to navigate both worlds. I one foot in this reality, the reality that you see, the reality that is more present, the reality that is more physical, and the reality you don't see, i.e., with all your power animals, your helpers, your guides, what's beyond the scene. You know, it's like peeking behind the veil. And so shaman is that it's that ability to really have a foot in both worlds and to decide, when do I spend more time in, we call it extraordinary reality, or in ordinary reality. And it's quite tricky because you could sometimes, you know, spend too much time in the other reality, and then this reality doesn't make sense anymore. And so this is why, again, you want to be grounded, and you want to have a strong mentor. You want to have, you know, somebody who gave you the basis to be safe.
Yeah. I'm very sure that's what's happening with me. Like I'm not here at all. Like brain fog, confusion a little bit. I'm just not here. It's weird. I don't know how to explain it or describe it. But I feel that I'm quantum jumping to different realities, or I don't know where I am, but I'm somewhere, but I'm here.
To me, that makes total sense. And I feel it's good to start to get an understanding, or maybe a playfulness of, okay, where am I? If I'm not here,
Yeah.
where am I? What am I doing? Because sometimes when you're not aware, you open yourself up to situations that might not be ideal for
Mm.
you.
Yeah.
And, you know, again, there is this, everything it's love and everything it's light, and the majority is, but there are some very dark forces. And I feel we need to address them. So when we are not aware of where we hang out for too long,
Mhm.
things could happen. And so, you know, it's good to have that way of knowing how to come back, I would say. How
Mhm.
to come back
Yeah.
and decide what you want to do, with whom you want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
You mentioned dark forces. I've had some really, really nasty experiences with dark beings. Not anymore, but what would you tell to someone like me who's had experience with those beings? I'm still shit terrified most of the time.
Yes. So one, don't underestimate it, again, because there are many views of, no, when you don't believe in it, it doesn't happen. I don't know if you heard that. Or when you are protected, it doesn't happen. And maybe the majority of times it's true.
Yeah.
But there are those dark forces. And especially in shamanism, sometimes you go back towards lifetimes and you see curses that have been put on people in this lifetime and have no idea. And so you really want to get somebody, again, that is competent to look at that. And if there is any attack, to protect you. And, you know, there are many practices that can help you do that. But my focus is always, do not underestimate it, because it's true. Maybe don't talk about it to everybody, you know?
Yeah.
And find some ways that are working for you to maybe immediately, if you feel attacked, what do? You know, Archangel Michael is a very strong ally. It's, you know, works for a lot of people. Just have some, I would say, like a protocol of, okay, if this happens, what is my first go-to? And then go and find somebody that is, you know, cleansing your house, cleansing practical things, but somebody who's been dealing with it.
Yeah. What are some tools and techniques that you use working with clients? Obviously, I'm guessing all of them have different needs. Do you ever get overwhelmed?
Do I get overwhelmed? Yes, sometimes. Now, the beauty with clients, you can, well, you can choose what you want to work with. So again, I had to find out what was working for me. And when I discovered healing, I would do any type of healing, physical body, curses, lifetime, whatever, lots of trauma in terms of abuse. And then I decided, no, this is not for me. I'm a bit more of the airy fairy. And this is when I thought, well, if you got the financial background, what I really enjoy to do is to see why people are stuck in the reality that they are, and how do we move them from that reality in a practical way. And when it comes to shamanism, I choose not to do what we call psychopump. If somebody dies, we accompany him to the other side, him or her, of course, to the other side. If there are, like I said, a lot of curses, I'm not going to call those people to me. If you know, a client says something and it happens, okay, I'll deal with it. But I'm not one that advertise, come and see me because you've been attacked, because you had a trauma. I'm going to say, come and see me because you want a better life, a better business, you want to quit your job. How can I support you do that?
Yeah.
And it's a lot more practical for me. And like I said, it's a bit more lighter as opposed to the darker side of things.
Yeah. How was Halloween for you?
Well, I've got a 12-year-old, so I went again from nothing about Halloween. I had kids to go out and but at the same time, there is that mysticism around witches, and you know, again, it's not the bad witch, is how could we use that witchy energy to create something good, and how do we reset? It's a good time for resetting. It's a good time where the veils are down. So again, personally, for me, it's a good time to do some deep reflection, work with the ancestors, work with my husband. When I say work, is communicate with him. But and then like I can again make that difference between that's the deep work and that's the Halloween go and trick or treat the kids. And the kids know that it's even a time where the veil comes down and we put plates out for that and this type of thing. So same for them. You know, I really want to show them both sides.
Yeah. I'm very sure my entire house and bedroom was full of spirits. It was so they didn't mean me any harm. I just didn't understand why it was so intense. Every time I closed my eyes, there was a million flashes and thoughts, and I got terrified. It was overwhelming. I'm not trained or don't know anything.
I got shivers when you said that. And
Okay.
Again, I think even though they don't mean harm, it's not okay
Yeah.
for you to experience that. And
Yeah.
so, one very simple tool is to be explicit and to say, you got to leave now. You got to leave my house.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is not a good time.
Yeah.
Or this is never a good time. Good time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, but make that command because it is scary, even when it is a good spirit. Or I had a couple of kittens that passed away, and sometimes I see them, but they're never imposed, or it's just a flash and then they leave. And the same with my husband. Now it's not going to show up uninvited. And I think for you, it's important to it is overwhelming. It is scary. It's not their place.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
my personal view. Again, many
You're
people might
right.
tell you, it doesn't matter. You're
Oh,
lucky
yeah.
they're coming to see you. No. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. And the night after that, I opened all my windows, I smudged, and I asked
yes.
them to leave.
Yes.
And I slept better that night
Yes.
after Halloween, and I felt nothing.
Yeah.
But it was
Absolutely.
overwhelming. I
It
don't even
is.
have words. I
It
was
is.
overloading. It was very, very bad for me. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I believe you. I believe you. And like I said, I've got shivers when you mention it. So
Yeah, yeah. How would you define abundance?
freedom of choices. So to me, abundance means different things to everybody.
Mhm.
But do you have the freedom to choose what you want? Do you have the freedom to say, today I don't want to work? Or do you have the freedom to say, you know what, I'd like to take the kids to the theater or to a holiday or whatever it is that you want to do? And especially, I like to think in terms of freedom when it comes to personal relationship. I still open Grazia magazine, right, which is a very, let's call it, superficial magazine, and there it's in one of the pages an image of a woman that said, I didn't choose this. Now my cat is here. I didn't choose this dress. I didn't choose this lipstick. Somebody chose it for me, i.e. controlling, right? And this is in a woman's magazine that talks about fashion. So for it to be a whole page dedicated to this type of maneuvering and control. So, we might not have, well, unfortunately, we have slavery, but we have this next level of slavery that looks like relationships. And yet, some of my clients, women, unfortunately, generally it's women, again, look at the numbers, there are statistics that said, my husband didn't want me to work. But then when my husband doesn't want me to work, I feel bad in doing certain things, in buying myself certain clothes, and maybe splashing on a cinema. You always have to ask.
Yeah.
And that to me, it's not abundance. And that to me, it's a reason why we should all be
Mhm.
abundant and free to do what we want, where we want, with who we want.
Mhm.
You want to work from the Caribbean, work from the Caribbean. You want to work from Mars, soon it's going to be possible. But you're going to need a lot of money if you say, I want to work from Mars. It's going
Yeah.
to be possible, but there's going to be a lot of demand financially. And so to
Mhm.
me, that's what abundance is. It's freedom of choice.
Yeah, yeah. And obviously in society there are rich people, there are poor people, but people are very quick to judge those who have more than they do without understanding what they had to sacrifice to have what they have. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. And, I run a lot of courses where the idea is manifest what you want.
Mm.
And one of the first hurdle, people think small and people have little manifestation dreams. And why is that? Because they're judged. Like especially in the spiritual community, sometimes I say, what do you want to manifest? And somebody says, lottery ticket of $1 million. And everybody else, you cannot see it, but I feel it is like, whoa, bad person, right? that should manifest cure for cancer. Well, guess what? The more money you have, the more you're going to have to dedicate to cleaning the oceans, to, again, have a better impact. But who am I to judge you wanting to win a lottery ticket? So definitely, I think we've been conditioned to believe that the more money you have and maybe the less fair life is, but we forget how they got there. And, you know, some people work really, really, really hard for the money.
Yeah.
And we don't know. We don't know. We never know. Or, you know, that did super good in a previous life and they come back and it's like, okay, I always say you want to do good now. You don't want to come back and you know, make dues. You want to just do what you want to do in this life, and the next one you can leave a little bit of brownie points on karma. That's definitely my vision. Yeah.
That's so true. Because I know for me in a different life, I think I don't know if I was a princess or not, but you know, all the fancy clothes and I had everything I needed at the time. And that's what I felt, at least in the past life I saw. And then in this life, I'm on a broke income. When people ask me, do you work? Yeah, it's a different type of work, but yeah, it's interesting how we experience different things in different lives.
Yes. And also, you know, you might ask yourself, do I feel guilty that I was the princess and had everything taken care of?
Yeah.
Or can I do it again? Or, you know, it's again, it's we're probably conditioned to believe that if we had it easy before, we cannot even have it easy now. And actually, I want to come back when you asked me if I was okay to talk about my husband, because I said that started the transformation and put me on a quest. So the quest I'm in is, could we elevate and grow ourselves? Because from a personal development point of view, I grew tremendously. Now, my belief is, what would have happened if my husband didn't die? What would have happened if I grew before? Maybe I believe, maybe you've heard of soul contracts, right? Maybe in this life, we had a contract where I said, Alex, I'm going to sacrifice myself for you and you're going to grow and evolve. And here comes my, you know, evolution. What if I had this awakening before?
Yeah.
Maybe I feel things could have been different. And my mission is really to see if we are in a place as humanity where we can evolve without the hardship, where we can evolve without near-death experience, losing our loved ones. And I believe it's possible. I believe we are at that point in time and in that point where if we all put in a little bit of goodwill and we
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, we connect with our soul a bit more, maybe there's a way that we don't have to suffer that much, you know. Like I said, it's my mission, it's my quest. Hopefully I'm going to get some answer before the end of this life. And hopefully there's going to be a way to stop believing that, you know, suffering equals spiritual growth. I don't think it's necessary. I think it's an old paradigm at this point in time. But like I said, if anybody's listening wants to help me out on this quest, reach out, let me know.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. I've heard of the term, we create our own realities. Would you agree that is accurate?
I would say we co-create our own reality, because again, you need to take into consideration, well, for me, I call it the universe. The universe is like this big force that we cannot ignore. And then we co-create with other people, because you might want a reality and I'm in your world and I might want exact opposite reality.
Yeah.
So we cannot have it both at the same time if we are in the same space. So we need to find a way to have all these players moving and maneuvering and moving together, like on a chess board, where where we are creating something together. And the universe is probably one of the strongest player.
Yeah.
That is there to help us maneuver. So, like I said before, there are many realities. If you're in the blue reality, you know there's a pink reality. How are you gonna move from the blue to the pink? That's
yeah, I agree.
one of the ways.
Yeah, I think for me personally, my human mind cannot comprehend that I'm existing somewhere else while I'm sitting here. What are your thoughts? Do you get questions on that from clients?
Do I get questions? Yes. And there are many, many answers to that question. Again, I feel part of me do believe in the simulation theory. Have you heard of the simulation theory, where we are avatars playing a video game?
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense to me. Absolute perfect sense. So again, you're just maneuvering from one reality to the other. And how do you do that? Through those tools, the frequencies, the quantum jumping, and all of that. Our mind doesn't comprehend it, because I think this is the human body and brain. This is how we're wired. I do feel that in other planets, they probably understand it a lot better. They probably have a lot more technology than us. And this is why I say we're all getting a bit wired up about artificial intelligence. I think other planets, other races, they've got it. They're still well, except maybe Atlantis and Lemuria, they blew it off. But again, let's not go there. But like, I think there's still a lot more technology available in other places, and we don't have it. So we don't have to be thinking doom and gloom that much. But just so to say, it's okay we don't comprehend it, as long as we have a little feel that I don't know how it's happening, but it's happening. It's like, I'm very intuitive and very, I don't know, call it psychic. If I receive a text, chances are I know who texted me. Or if my phone is off, I'm going to say, I'm going to switch it on because such and such needs to text me. And then I'm going to switch it off again. I'm back on my computer.
Yeah.
I just accept it. I don't understand how do I know, rather than it's my intuition. Great. It's really mind-blowing, even something that's small, right? My phone is off, let me put it on, boom, the text arrived, and let's put it off. But something inside of me, it's connected to the biggest part of us. Again, what do you think is your soul? What do you think is the person controlling the avatars, or whatever? But we don't need to comprehend it. I think we want to at least be open to the possibility that we can do a lot more than what we told we could do. Like, I never knew I could be in a session with a person and know things about this person I never seen before and never met.
Wow.
How is that even possible? No idea.
Yeah.
But it is.
Yeah. I like to rest in the unknown, because the ego wants to know, it wants to control and know things. And that's the best way to be, I think. There's peace in that, in not knowing all the time.
Yes. I agree. It's a good place to be open and curious, and possibly not obsessed.
Yeah.
Sometimes it happens, right? And find what works for you. Really find what works for you. But I always say there's so much more to life than your eyes can see, and there's so much more potential that is available. So we want to get to practice that. For me, one of the things I'm really adamant with the kids is nothing is impossible, and we can bend time, because again, it's two very useful tools. And so practically, how do I teach them, not to be late at school when technically you're late, or
Yeah,
so.
that's so cool. So what are some of your spiritual team members for like angels or guides? Who helps you
Like I
out?
said, I've got a big team
Oh,
I've got
wow.
a big team. Definitely the angels, dragons a lot, love unicorns. Um,
That's so
and
cool.
then yeah, it really depends what kind of work you do. In shamanism, we have power animals. So again, you have guides depending on what you're doing. It could be a business guides, it could be a protection guides, it could be your most affectionate around you. So it really is again like having a whole new set of, I'm going to say people, even though sometimes it's
Yeah,
animals, sometimes it's angel. I'm going to call them people.
yeah,
But
yeah.
all of a sudden, there's a lot more
Mhm.
than, oh, I'm alone and I have no friends, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Uh,
I agree. You
so
mentioned dragon. That's so cool. I'm a dragon.
are you?
Yeah, I don't look like one
Mm,
right now, but shape shifting.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
learned that I am. Can you tell me your experience with them since I haven't been able to connect with them?
So it's very strange. Sorry, I've got my cat on my desk and he's
No
playing.
worries.
Come
I
on.
love cats.
So I was going to do a workshop on snakes, big physical snakes, because I'm quite a scared person in general.
Yeah,
And I thought if I don't know if I'm scared of snakes, but if I'm scared and I manage to be with the snakes,
yeah, yeah.
I, that's one thing that's going to give me a lot of strength.
Hmm.
And what I didn't know is that snakes are representations of dragons.
Oh,
And a few days before the workshops, I was meditating, and there it was, my beautiful dragon. And I've seen her, I've seen the colors, well, I was told her name.
yeah.
And since then I started to buy crystal dragons, dragon skulls. And I don't call on them very often,
Mhm.
but especially when I do in shamanism, we do healing for the web of life. So every now and then, we do healing for the world. And dragons at that moment for me, it's definitely one of the helpers. I'm going to reach out and I see them as holding the lights of the planet. So they're very, very strong
Yeah,
forces. And I think they've got bad reputation,
we
but they're
do.
here to support us. They're very strong. And so again, if there is something with a client that is, a bit of a negative force, dragons are just the best
Yeah.
to be of help.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. Yeah, yeah. Um,
I've got
yeah.
dragons cards, oracle cards, you name it. I've got a dragon in my bathtub, and
Oh,
every night
wow. That's so
with
cool.
with
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Yeah, they do give us a bad rap, dragon, right? And as I'm learning more, and it's so strange because that's how I've always felt all my life in human forms, that people see me as this big bad person. And when really I'm a kid at heart, my heart is so soft and full of love and full of so much to give. And I got diagnosed with schizophrenia, which is a beast. I see it. So that's kind of how I see it. But yes, we have quite the history with the galactic system because there, as you may know, there's different types of dragons. And
Yes.
I'm a warrior dragon. No, I
Yeah.
like it's not a police, but it's more than that. Like
Yeah.
I think I token refuge from
Yeah.
Lyra. That's why I love cats and other
Yeah.
planets. But yeah, we do have a bad raps. And dragons were demonized, and it was countries like China who not worship but give us value and meaning. And
Yeah.
also there's lots of countries in Europe on their flags or dragons. So these are
Yes.
the places that accepted dragons and they still visit and that's where we are.
Yeah. And schizophrenia, again, I think it's being in a world
Mm-hmm.
where you're very much connected to a different reality, but maybe your human form. is struggling to catch up, right? So again, let's say
Yeah.
the most, like schizophrenia, it's a superpower
Yeah.
because see, and you know a lot more than
Yeah.
the average person. But unfortunately, we put those labels because we don't understand and because we think it's not possible. While in reality, what's not possible is to just be living this and nothing else is real. Yeah. Does it make sense?
Oh, it makes perfect sense. Yeah. Yeah. And I love that you're talking about the healing because that's what dragons do. They're keepers of crystals and we heal Gaia.
Yes.
It is
Yes.
so strange because my logo on the pod that was way before I had a spiritual awakening. My logo on the podcast is Healing Together, and it's of a water logo. And I could not
Wow.
understand why I had to choose a logo with water. I'm learning that on my planet there are waterfalls and we use the water and the crystals to
Wow.
heal. And I always
Wow.
say healing together. And I always say, I wish you love, light, life, and peace. Those 4 words I felt like I had to always say to everybody. And I'm
Wow.
still dissecting it. It's mind blowing.
It's mind blowing. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Absolutely
Yeah.
mind blowing. Yes.
Yeah. Do you know what star seeds you are by any chance?
Do I know? Somebody mentioned Pleiadians, but
That's what I picked up.
I'm not sure. I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
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 Is that what you pick up?
Right away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So is there anything else that we haven't covered that you'd like to share?
Is there anything else? I do think really to be proud of claiming more in life and just don't let people put you in a box. Don't let people judge you. Don't let people shatter your dreams. And I know we might feel nobody's shattering my dreams, but when you look deep down,
Yeah.
if you're not where you want to be, or if you're not near where you want to be, and feeling happy and healthy and wealthy and abundant again, and it could be whatever it is for you, right? For some people it could be $10, for some people it's $1 million, for some people it's $1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
But don't let anybody come in the way and to say, oh, it is bad to have your dreams or you cannot have them, or and equally don't feel you need to be comparing your dreams to anybody else. Some people are happy not to work, raise a family, stay at home, mom and dad,
Yeah.
and they're happy and they're super abundant because that's what brings them joy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or living in the Himalayan somewhere and don't have a salary. So I really would say think about your magic
Mm-hmm.
and let it come out
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
explore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is the meaning of life for you?
The meaning of life, happiness for sure. Happiness. And I think when you start to fulfill that happiness,
Mm-hmm.
there is co-creation at the next level. It's not about you per se anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about creating that connection and that evolution of
Mm-hmm.
let's harmonize together.
Yeah.
So it becomes less about you and more. And again, it could be your plant, it could be your cat, it could be your family, or it could be you impacting millions of people and trees.
Mm-hmm.
But it's that evolution of cleansing and clearing, all the things that maybe we've suffered, we've done, we conquered, we divided, we destroyed. And so how could we make do and build on happiness and
Mm.
love
Yeah.
and create
Yeah.
something beautiful?
Yeah. I love that. Alex, where can my listeners find you and support your work and maybe work with you?
They can find me on my website, breathingheart.co.uk,
Mm-hmm.
and on social media, Breathing Heart Coaching. It's my Instagram, but my website is definitely the best way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Find my email and send me an email. I'm old school that way.
That's a good way to be. Yeah, that's awesome.
She says while she doing a quantum jumping and says artificial intelligence is good. You can still find me by email.
Yeah, that's awesome. Last question for you. What do you want my guests to get out of this episode?
I really want them to feel on fire. Again, on fire about who they are, on fire about who they are. They're beautiful, awesome people. And even if they felt that life has been hard and that, there are obstacles along the way, find the right person that believes in you, that sees you, that see your beauty. And sometimes we do need that guide. Sometimes we do need that person that can tell you you are the hero. And it's a lot easier when somebody tells you that if you have to prove it for yourself. But just trust that you're awesome. I really want them to feel that because they are, especially if they're listening to this podcast.
Yeah, I love that. Well, Alex, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for healing and helping and guiding so many of us that needs the help.
Thank you. Thank you, Bernadette. Lots of love.
You're welcome.